All right, everybody. It's that time. It's that time to welcome another friend of ours from the great, hysterical, funny sitcom on TBS known as Sullivan and Son. Let's welcome the one, the only, Jodi Long from Sullivan and Son. Jodi, welcome to Totally Driven Radio.
Hey, Bay. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I see I'm calling a 718 number. Where are you?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's weird. Like, we're based out of Philly, but we have a 718 number, which is New York.
Which is New York. It's Queens of Brooklyn. I'm like, whoa.
you thought you were calling home for a second, didn't you?
Well, I am in home. I'm on my mom's house right now in Queens, so I was like, I'm calling close. Anyway.
Jodi, let me tell you, before we even get into the whole interview, you scare me. The character you play on Sullivan's Son, Steve's mom, Oak Cha, she scares me. And then as I was going through getting ready for the interview tonight, I watched some other interviews with you, and I was reading some stuff, and I'm like, she is the exact opposite of that character she plays on TV.
I know. That's what you call acting.
How about that? How about that? You are a true actor.
I am. I know. Isn't that funny? You wouldn't expect it from somebody who looks like me. No, I'm not really an actor. I'm a character actor. I've always been that. So, yeah, that's not really me, although there's aspects of me, I suppose, and all the other aunties that I've grown up with who were a little scary.
Now, how about your own mom? Is she like that at all, or?
No, she's more. Let's see, how to say. She's tough, but she's not scary in any way. Exacting. I would say she's been exacting me in her life. You know, like making me do my homework when I was a kid and stuff like that. But no, not as harsh as Steve's mom, which is actually based on the real Ocha Byrne, Steve Byrne's mom, and. She's pretty tough. She's so sweet to me, but the things that Steve tells me she says to him, I go, really? She really said that to you? Come on. And she's teeny, too. You know, she's probably 5 foot. And he's like, oh, no, that's what she said to me. So I think mothers are always tougher on their kids than anyone ever imagines, you know?
Absolutely.
Especially Asian mothers.
No, what's the opinion of your character? I mean, do you at times kind of find it hard to believe that this woman actually exists and you're playing this woman, or?
Well, yeah, I think that I was a little shocked when in the pilot I said to Steve, the first thing I'd seen him after I hadn't seen him for a while, you look fat. And actually, Steve's mother said that to him right as he was walking down the aisle to get married. You look fat. So that was really based on a reality. I think now in the second and third seasons, we just, completed our third season, at least in terms of taping it. We've only, I think, aired 4 now. It has gotten more, let's say, I wouldn't say extreme, but they've really kind of pushed the envelope, which is really fun. And I think that for Oksha, and I think, yeah, maybe people are a little scared of me. Well, I have to be scary in order to collect all those bar tabs that are outstanding.
Yeah, right. It's funny you bring that up because with the whole pushing the envelope, I got turned on to the show last year where we first had Roy on the show last year. Actually, Roy did the show last year a couple times, and he was on the show a couple weeks ago. And we had Ahmed on a couple weeks last season as well.
Uh-huh.
And when I first started watching it, I was like sitting there with my mouth open, like, wow, like how are they getting away with this? Like, this is the true form of what a cable TV sitcom should be. And my mouth would just drop. I'm like, they're crossing the line, but I love it.
And did they just say that? Right? But it is cable, right?
Yeah, that's the thing that you have to keep reeling yourself in and remember, like, wow, it's cable. But you wish, like, network TV would kind of do that as well.
So we're, setting precedent here, right? So that's why people should watch us. Hey,
exactly.
This hasn't been done before, right?
And it's funny because I tell everybody that. I'm like, if you're not watching this show, you don't realize what you're missing because you better like hold on to your seat because you're going to get blown away. And people just look at me, they're like, they really say stuff like that? I'm like, I'm telling you, you got to experience it. I'm like, it's like watching Cheers, but like watching Cheers like on, like
steroids.
Steroids.
Margaret Cho came to see our show last year. She just came to a taping of it. And she said that to me, wow, this is like All-American Girl all grown up and then some, like for adults. And I was like, yeah, exactly. And, she just finished taping an episode for us where Okja and Margaret go head to head. So it's really fun.
And you were on that show with her years ago, right?
Yeah, I played her mom on that, and I was way younger than I am now. And I was still playing the mom. Oh, well, it's because I'm tall.
Now, how was that for, here you played, you played her mom years ago, and now you're playing Steve and Vivian's mom on the show. Do you almost feel like that motherly role to these characters? Even off camera?
I do. It's so funny because Margaret coming on the show a couple of weeks ago, I felt like I had all my children there. we could do like a whole thing on all my children. But it's true. And, Margaret, I have her persona, but she's always been nothing but sweet to me. And, Steve and Vivian, they're the same way. I said to Steve recently, I said, because he did some stuff for me. It was just personal, and it was just so sweet. And I said, you are like the son I never had, or the one that I wished I had, and I didn't have a son, but it was just, he's just the best. And Vivian, it's so crazy. I don't know if you follow my Twitter feed, but she's always hugging me. And the other day, she hugged me, and she came up to me. I was doing something on set, and she came, and my earring got caught in her hair.
Oh, that's funny.
How close she was to me. And we were literally stuck together. And I was like, don't move, you're going to rip my earring out. And so somebody, Valerie had to come and extract us from each other. I was like, oh, my gosh. But that's the kind of zaniness it is on set. And it's true. She did it twice to me that day, and we kept getting stuck together. It's crazy.
Well, you speak of the zaniness on set, and the funny thing is, I just saw the guys the other night. They were in Philly doing the comedy show.
I know. Did they kill it?
No? I felt bad because the crowd, and I'm going to say this, and I'm angry at my own city. My city, Philadelphia, the support it's just not there, and it's not just for them. It seems like it's for anybody. It was a very small crowd, and I can tell the guys were upset, and I don't blame them. And but I still had a great time, and they're still funny as hell. But they opened the show with the the montage of all the bloopers.
Did you see? Did they show the one where I do this billy club and it keeps falling back?
Yes. And it seemed like most of the bloopers revolved around you.
No. Well, are you saying it's because I make so many mistakes?
Well, it just seemed like, a lot of bloopers like you're involved in, but it was just, you can see the funniness and the zaniness that goes on that show, and you can see the close-knit of all you guys. You guys are like a true family.
We really are, and since you saw that blooper clip, Steve and I, once we get going, he can't look at me sometimes when I'm delivering my lines. It's just like he'll look and he just goes, I can't look at you, stop. And what you saw that night on the blooper reel, that's really the infectiousness, because once we start laughing, forget it. And that's what's sort of fun if you're in the studio audience. The studio audience really loved it. They don't kind of go, oh, well, she's so unprofessional, she doesn't know her lines. But they really kind of go along for the ride. And this whole season has been like that. You just saw the very beginning of the season, but the last couple episodes, oh, my gosh, we just can't look at each other. And then, it's like, get serious here, get serious, and then, we continue.
I love seeing stuff like that too. Like I love trying to pick out like especially like in sitcoms, where you see a moment like that, and you can tell like if Steve's like trying to hold in or bite his tongue and not laugh it, but you can still see that slight crack of a grin. I love seeing that. 'Cause I love seeing, you're enjoying what you're doing, and it's cracking you up, and you're involved in it, so it's got to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really what happens on the set all the time. And, I wouldn't say, there are pranks being played. It's just that we're just really enjoying the moment of it. And we have some funny people on our show. I mean, not just our guest stars, but, everybody on the show is funny unto themselves. So
right.
You get all that in one room, especially you get all those 4 comedians in one room. Hello. And Brian Joel Murray and Christine Eversole, Dan Lauria, and myself. I mean, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's got to be nonstop.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to hear that about Philly not coming out for supporting, but what's going on, Philly? Come on, man.
I don't know. It's really it's upsetting because like Philly was this great town, for years, and you always hear like when comedians or music artists, they would come to town, they'd be like, how they love Philly, and Philly's always so supportive, and it's like the last so many years, it's getting worse and worse. It's just like, I don't know what happened to Philly. It's really upsetting me.
But you live there.
I know. It's even
and
scarier.
You love your city. You love your city.
I do. So I want to know what happened to Philly. I really do. And even it was funny, like last week on our show, we had there's a new like entertainment show, Hollywood Today Live, and they just got picked up by Fox, and they're rolled out in certain markets. And I was like, they're not rolled out in Philly. I'm like, Philadelphia is one of the top TV markets. How could you not be rolled out in Philly? So there's something going on with Philly, and I don't understand it.
Okay, well, you figure it out, and then you let me know. How's that?
How about that? I'm on a mission. I'm going to figure this out. It's really bothering me.
But you play in other markets as well, right?
Yeah, we're across the country, so we're through the power of the internet, we're across the country.
Okay.
Now, how
Anything
about
else you want to ask me?
People probably don't even realize that Vince Vaughn's the executive producer now. He's not somebody that just like puts his name on there. He's really involved in the whole project.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He wasn't so much in the first couple of weeks of after we started shooting, only because he was shooting a movie, so he was off on location. But when he's in town, which was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks in, he was there, and he's on set while we're taping. And he makes suggestions, because when we tape in front of an audience, if something doesn't really fly in terms of a joke, they'll change it. So we're constantly, you have to really relearn your lines immediately. And Vince is very involved in, let's change this or let's work on this. And so it's really a very collaborative, creative process once we get in front of the audience. I mean, it is up until then, but it's the writers and us sort of collaborating. And then once we hit the stage or the sound stage, then it's sort of everybody's kind of the producers, the writers. The actors have little to say about it in terms, we've already put in our input, and then we just kind of fly with it. So it's really fun, and you have to be on your toes in order to do this particular kind of television.
Sure. Now, the one episode this past season that's been my favorite so far is when you and Roy did the spicy food challenge.
I'm glad you liked it.
Do you like spicy food for real, or?
I do like spicy food for real, and so does Roy.
That's funny.
So, yeah, but it was, Roy and I had never really had anything as extensive as that together. So it was really fun, and he's grown quite a bit as an actor. When he first started, I love Roy, don't get me wrong, but when he first started, the comedians are used to just talking into a microphone, so they have no sort of diaphragm or vocal power. So the first couple of episodes of the first year, Dan Lauria would look at me, who plays my husband, from the Wonder Years, the original Dan and Wonder Years. I'm just saying this for your listeners. He would look at me and go, "Can you hear him?" And I go, no, we got to tell him he's not talking into a mic. But now he's fully present vocally, and it's been great. You know, not just him, but all, you know, Steve and Ahmed and Owen, just seeing how they've grown in leaps and bounds from going from stand-up to, you know, acting in a sitcom. So it's really incredibly gratifying for me anyway. It's just an old theater, you know, hound.
Well, people like yourself and you know, Christine and Dan Laurie and all, with these backgrounds in the business, and you know, especially, you know, you were trained for the theater, correct? And
that's correct. Mm-hmm.
Where you're working with guys like, you know, Roy and all, who haven't really done a lot of TV, do you almost kind of take them under your wing?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, because I don't like to preach to people, right? I just do by example. And I think that's what's been so gratifying, is that they have all come up to the sort of, what do you call it, energy level that the stage actors have. At first they didn't have that because they were used to just speaking into a mic. But now, as I said, they're so energy vocally present and present energy-wise. So, and that's really the difference between stage acting and film acting, you know, is that your energy has to reach an audience, and we do have a live studio audience, even though the camera is there. So, you know, it's less so in a film where it's just you and the camera. Television, this sitcom in particular, crosses, you know, sort of the bridge between the two. So, yeah, it's been great. No, I don't tell people what to do. I don't want people telling me what to do, and I don't tell people what to do. But because they're so smart, they just went, oh, okay, we need to kind of step this up. And so it's been incredibly gratifying to see how they've all learned over the last couple of seasons. So I think, you know, you'll see a real difference in terms, and being relaxed. I mean, comedy only happens when you're relaxed, because you have to be so in the moment. And that's what gives you your timing. And they have good timing because they understand where a joke is and all that stuff. But in acting, you need to know where the joke is, but you also need to give it room to breathe, to have the behavior come through of whatever the character is that you're playing. So I think that's where you've seen them really blossom and grow. Great. Yeah. For the family, you know, it's like your tribe. All of a sudden, everyone's like, yeah, it's all coming together. No, it's really great.
Now, speaking of family, how about your family? I mean, your parents were in the entertainment business in vaudeville.
That's correct. Yes, they were vaudevillians, and they played the Palace. They played the Ed Sullivan Show way back when, in the 50s, early 1950, actually. And, so I grew up backstage watching them in their act. So I was really, you know, that was sort of normal for me. You know, other kids, it's normal that their father's a doctor or a lawyer or a fireman, but it was normal that my parents were singing and dancing in front of people.
Now, did that influence you to go follow kind of in their footsteps as well, or?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, because that's your normal, right? You want to do what your normal is, right? So I saw them do that, and my dad also was a comedian and singer, and so so I can do that, sure. So I did do that as a kid. I did my first Broadway show when I was 7 that Sidney Lumet directed, and then, you know, my mother was like, you have to go back to school and really go to school. So I did do that, and then I went on to Performing Arts High School in New York City, because I got in, and then I kind of got hooked. I got the bug of acting, doing a straight play, believe it or not, and in high school. So then I was going to be a dramatic actress, and look at me now. I'm doing comedy. I'm through full circle to what my parents used to do.
And didn't you made a documentary about your parents?
That's correct. It's called Long Story Short. And you can find it on Amazon.com under a Long Story Short documentary. I think you have to put documentary, put that in, and it'll come up. And it's only, I think it's $1.99 or something like that to rent. and it's about an hour, and it really chronicles sort of my parents, finding the Ed Sullivan show, because Ed Sullivan was live in those days. I think it was always live in the 30 years that it was on TV. It was live on Sunday nights. So there were no, obviously, VCRs in those days or TiVo or anything on demand. So my parents never saw themselves. They only experienced it the way they experienced it. So it was incredibly gratifying because Ed Sullivan had mismarked them. I mean, the people who owned the Ed Sullivan show had mismarked it. So when I called initially, they were like, well, Larry and Trudy Leong, which was the name of my parents' act, didn't exist. They must be mistaken. And it was just that they had written it down incorrectly, their name. And so through a little sleuthing from me and from the woman who was amazing who worked there, because they were on a bill with Nat King Cole and Anna Maria Alberghetti, we actually found it. And then finding it, they sent it to me, and then I showed it to my parents, who had not seen it in 50 years, because I showed it to them, I guess it was in 2002 or something like that.
Now, do you show in your documentary, do you show them watching this?
Yes, for the first time, I do.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So the documentary was a long time in making, so that I did, when I showed it to them in 2002, we did shoot it, but the documentary didn't come out officially until I think it hit the film circuit in 2008. So it took a long time, in raising money and all that stuff that happens in making a film. So yeah, that was an incredibly gratifying experience for me, because my dad got to see it before he died, and I was, really, really grateful for that. Yeah, it was a labor of love, and I think it's a good documentary. We won a lot of awards, and was audience awards in Los Angeles, so it was really very gratifying. But
did it bring you? Did it bring you closer to your parents, do you think?
To bring me closer to them. Well, I'm pretty close to my parents. I never really thought about it. I've had my issues with both my parents at different points in my life, mainly when I was 18, 21.
Sure.
But doesn't everybody have issues with their parents? But, I think I was very close to them. But you don't realize that until they're gone. And you go, I really was close to them. So, anyway, yeah. So I guess it did. It really brought my mother, in doing that documentary, brought my mother and father together, because they had been divorced for years, and they had kind of not a great breakup. So even though they sort of were cordial to each other, they hadn't really hung out together. And I think coming together, they did not watch the Ed Sullivan show together. They refused that. But because I was doing Flower Drum Song at the time, a Broadway show that my father had done 50 years before, or 40 some odd years before, they came together for opening night of that. And believe it or not, my father had a heart attack that night.
Oh, wow.
that we got on tape. I mean, I'm laughing about it. He didn't die. He suffered a heart attack and recovered. But that whole thing, my mother, they all of a sudden became friendly. And that was really, it was incredibly healing, that whole process of coming together for Flower Drum Song and coming together, being filmed together to talk about their act as Larry and Trudy Leong. So, yeah, it brought them together. And that was an amazing experience for me, because I had experienced them for so long, having animosity towards each other.
Right.
So it's nice when people can let that go in a divorce, in a family. And so that was very healing. Yeah.
That's nice. Now, how about doing a project like that? Have you ever considered doing any other projects behind the scenes like that, writing, directing?
Yeah, I have a one-woman show called Surfing DNA, which I did in Los Angeles in 2006. right when my dad passed away, right before it, and then I revived it last year in L.A., and I've been hoping to get it to the East Coast, but I've been so busy. I can't even begin to tell you how busy I am. And I'm actually heading off in a few weeks to go to Chicago to do a new play at the Goodman Theater called, I can I remember the name? Extreme Happiness. And the World of Extreme Happiness, excuse me. I'm just had a little brain dent. And so, I'm all of a sudden off and running on this play, and that will eventually go to New York at Manhattan Theater Club, so next year. So I've just been so busy, and, I really want to get my show there, Surfing DNA. But to answer your question, to finish answering your question, yeah, I'm interested in perhaps doing another movie or so. I've got some ideas rolling around. And, it's a lot to do a movie. It takes a couple of years of your life, even if you have the financing. If you have the financing, it takes a couple of years of your life. And if you don't have the financing, it takes more. So it really needs to be, something you love. I tell people that all the time. If you don't love telling the story, don't do it, especially if you're doing a movie, whether you're producing it or writing it or whatever it is. And some people just do it for the money. If, they're Michael Caine or whatever, they can do that, right?
Right.
I just say if you're really going to do it, just put your heart into it. It's going to take a lot of time to do it, especially if you're doing it on a small, independent budget. So I do want to do that because you have control over it, obviously, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I definitely have some things on the back burner that are brewing in my brain. I like, my thing is I'm an actor. That's my main deal, actor. But I'm also, sorry, I'm getting you're getting bleeped because people are calling me.
You're a busy person.
I am. But I'm really a storyteller. That's what I do. And I like doing it as an actor because I can illuminate, hopefully, the human condition, whether it's through laughter or tears, through my characters, and then as a writer, producer, through how to tell the story. And that's really the key, isn't it? I mean, being in radio, is what's the story? What's the story you're going to tell, or what's the story you're going to present to your readers? And I see that all the time. And when I watch movies or television or read a novel, I go, what's the story? How do we enter this story in this world? So that to me is really interesting.
Sure.
And that's what kind of drives me.
Interesting. Now, coming from the theater background that you have, did you ever cross paths with any of your co-stars, like Christine Ebersole or anything over the years, or?
Well, that's funny you should ask. Christine and I had worked together quite a few years ago. I can't remember what year it was. We did a play, a Stephen Sondheim play called Getting Away with Murder on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, God, I don't remember what year it was. I want to say 95, 96. I don't know. You'll have to Google that. Everybody out there will have to Google that. I don't remember. But, yeah, so I knew Christine before. I hadn't seen her since we had worked. I mean, I'd seen her on stage. I sent her notes back, whatever. But I hadn't really, been in contact with her personally. So it was really great to walk on set and know that she was there. I did not know anybody else in the cast.
Okay.
So it's, except her. And, pretty much it. And it was great to be, as I said, reunited with Margaret the last couple of weeks ago.
It's got to be kind of funny, though. I mean, the two of you coming from the theater background, playing the most extreme characters on the show.
I know. Well, she's a funny lady. And we did a comedy. It was not a Stephen, you think Christine Ebersole sings like a bird. It was not a Stephen Sondheim musical. It was the only play that Steve ever did.
Wow.
And he wrote it with George First, and it was a murder comedy. It was a comedy that was a murder mystery. So we were funny together. and that also starred John Rubinstein and oh God, my brain is going. Josh Mostel, Daryl Mostel's son, Frankie Faison, and Terrence Mann. So, I mean, from Beauty and the Beast. I mean, so we had an amazing, amazing cast. We didn't last that long on Broadway, which Steve was, very upset about. But, I mean, I've been so lucky to work with Stephen Sondheim. My goodness. And all the other people I've worked with. Kevin Kline on Broadway, and time they go, well, how did you learn comedy? Well, I worked with Kevin Kline for almost a year on one show called Loose Ends. And it was a dramedy. It was, it was this Michael Weller play that was a drama, but it was comedic as well.
Right.
And every night, Kevin and I would come off for intermission, and he'd go, I think if we did that a little faster, or we need to do blah, blah, blah. What about this? And I was a very young actor. I just gotten out of college, and what training I had, really. It's in the doing of it.
That's awesome.
So
now, how about...
I learned... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say also, too, you have an indie film that just came out, A Picture of You?
A Picture of You, yes. I don't know when it's ever going to get to Philly. It just opened in New York a couple of weeks ago. I guess a month ago, and we got a really good review from the New York Times, and they made us critics' pick for the weekend. So the Lowe's AMC extended us another week. So that, it's a little teeny independent film, which is a bit of starts with this brother and sister going back to their mother's house after she's passed. And they're going about it. It sounds pretty depressing, right? Well, in the going about it, they find out something about her that was unexpected, let's put it that way. And that throws them into a tizzy, and I play the mom. So it's just been great that has gotten the kind of play it's gotten. And let's see if it gets to Philly, and hopefully it'll open in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Boston, the bigger market. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You are busy.
I am busy. What's happening?
See, this is why I have the show. It's called Totally Driven, because everybody I talk to, you are all so totally driven, and you are so busy. You have to be driven to keep going at the rate you guys do.
Well, I think it's different. You can be totally driven and then nothing be happening, right? I mean, you've had those moments. I've had those moments where I'm driven, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm working hard. Look, I work really hard, and I also know when to give it up. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like it's not completely in your control. You can only put your intent out there, and you can only control yourself. You can do the best work you can. You can not slack off. You can know where your weaknesses are and work on them. But everything else is out of your control. So I tell people all the time, do what you love and just, be as pure as you can and do the best you can. And then everything else will fall into place. Well, then once that happens, then you got to keep up with it. Like me, I'm like, whoa, okay. And it is the year of the horse, in Chinese horoscopes. So, they always say that the horse takes off and doesn't stop, not gambling, what do you call it? Galloping. So, God, I'm really goofy today. Gambling, galloping,
Well, anything else you want to promote? How about your Twitter and anywhere people can get hold of you?
Yeah, they can get me or follow me on XO, which is Kiss and a Hug, Jodi Long. Or they can follow me on my Facebook, official fan book, Facebook page, whatever they call that thing. And I'm a little behind the times, but they're all out there.
It's they keep coming up with all this stuff, and it's like anymore, all this stuff, it's like becoming a job.
It is a job. If somebody said, "Oh, you're on Instagram," I'm like, "Oh my God, just another one? I can't deal with it." It is a job. When
it really is.
We live tweet the show. So anybody who's listening who's a Sullivan and Son fan, and, you watch, and depending on what coast we're on, like I'm on the East Coast now, so I'll live tweet tomorrow night. but we live tweet with the fans. So that's intense because everybody's, retweeting, whatever it is, and it's keeping up with that. But, that's the way we connect, and we have made a point to do that. So.
It's huge. The whole Twitter thing, I think, is the most important one anymore. It's really, like you're saying, with that live tweeting, I mean, people go nuts for it.
Oh, yeah. Well, because it really, I think they feel connected, that they can connect in an easy way. I mean, remember in the old days, you liked somebody, you had to write a letter, and you didn't know if they ever got it, a fan letter, whatever.
Right.
And it ends up on your desk, and So, yeah.
People be checking their mail every day, hoping to get that autographed picture back, and they never came, and they'd be heartbroken. Yeah, I was there. I was one of them kids.
I know. So, I'm sorry if I never sent it back to you. No. I was really good about it.
You made up for it tonight. So I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. We love you. We love Sullivan and Sullivan. And everybody needs to tune in Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern on TBS. And be prepared to laugh, because they will make you laugh. You don't have a choice in the matter.
Exactly. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Jodi, real quick before I let you go, can you just cut a quick ID for me? This is Jodi Long, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
This is Jodi Long, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Thank you. Thanks, Jodi. Have a great night.
All right. Okay, bye.
Bye.